Just know this about life. There are vast amounts of horrible people in this world. And there's only a small sliver, a needle in a haystack of good people. And your ability to find those good people is the single biggest predictor of the quality of the rest of your life. Trust me, nothing compares. I've been poor and I've had money. You know, I've been healthy and I've been unhealthy, but nothing has been a bigger factor in my happiness than the quality of the people that I'm around. You basically need two things to be happy for most people in the modern world. You got to improve your financial stability, and you got to improve the quality of people you hang out with. That's it. Of course, there's some other factors in there that you could add to that, but those are two big ones. Now, why are there so many bad people, and what's the definition of bad people? Well, to me, it's people who don't have your best interests at heart. They might be good people to other people, but not to you and I. Basically, everything you want to know about somebody can be found out in one simple way. Ask them to do something small for you. Because the kind of people you want in your life, highly agreeable people, they'll say yes 9 times out of 10. Assuming, it's just something small that you want them to do. You see, when you study humans and you learn to read people, which is by far the most important skill. People always ask me about how to make money, and that's great. Making money is important, but more important is learning how to surround yourself with the right people. That's what brings happiness. That's what brings stress if you do it wrong. So if you study psychology, personality tests, cutting edge ones like the Hexaco test, one of the factors of human personality is called agreeableness. And basically it's made up of things like flexibility, right? So if somebody's got plans and you really need them to do a small thing for you, and you're like, hey, wait, Dana. Sorry. And you need them to do something for you, 9 times out of 10, they're gonna say yes. And you will find, because sometimes people are gonna say to me, they're gonna be like, but Tai, what if they're busy? Like, people can't always do what you want, and that's true, but just trust me, test something small. Just ask them like, hey, can you text me back with blah, blah, blah. Just make something up, like, what's your favorite color? Like, or like, can you give me directions? Or ask them something like, what's the best sushi restaurant? Trust me, people care about you, they'll respond. People are highly agreeable, they're highly flexible. They might be busy, but that's one of the tests, flexibility. Will they flex or be flex, not flex in the sense of show off, but will they be flexible to share their time with you? But whenever I'm telling you, about 50% of people have low flexibility scores, low agreeableness. They're just not good friends. At least you can keep them as acquaintances, but when it comes to close friends, and this is where you run into problems, is when you have people that have psychological problems. Some people say, but Tai, aren't you supposed to help people with psychological problems? Yeah, if you're a psychologist. That's like saying, well, Tai, there's somebody who has, heart problems, needs heart surgery. Shouldn't we all do heart surgery? No, only someone qualified. You can point them in the right direction, but you can't do it yourself. So, because I get that. People are like, oh, well, I'm friends with somebody. All my friends are fucked up, but, I'm going to help them. No, you're not. They're going to tear you down. Send them to someone who specializes in that. You surround yourself with the people that are down for you, that are flexible for you, that are agreeable, that will help you. And just make sure you do it back too. You can't always be asking, you also got to be giving.
Hard work is exactly like sleeping. Poor people sleep, rich people sleep. You do need sleep or you will die. So poor people work hard, rich people work hard. It's not the differentiating factor. They both, what's the difference? You want to find the key thing they do differently. It's not what people do the same that helps you. I know what people do the same. Think about it, bodies. What do most people in America do? Eat junk food and get fat. So studying them isn't gonna help you that much. You have to find, that's why Malcolm Gladwell wrote the book Outliers. You gotta study the people, outliers. So the top 10 men in the world make more money than 3.5 billion at the bottom.
Wow.
Just put that in perspective, it's 3,500 million people. It's a lot, right? So the reason is because, well, that's the mystery. What do the 10 do that those 3.5 billion, thousands of millions of people don't do? And so when you answer that, then you figure out how to make more money. So they do things like, like Warren Buffett, like doesn't believe in working hard. Warren Buffett says my investment strategy borders on sloth. He said when other people are trading stocks all the time at work, he makes one big trade every 2 years. It appears to be slothfulness. But you do more thinking. Thinking is when it's kind of like Conor McGregor in that fight with Aldo, where he knocked out Aldo in 37 seconds, I think it was. He came out and he interviewed and he said, you remember what he said? Anybody know?
I like to think no one. Absolutely nobody.
No, about precision.
Oh,
Precision beats power. That was so I was like, you got people that
That's true.
power, they try to work harder, and then you got other people that are precision. You only need to knock somebody out. You need one precise hit right there. You don't have to go 12 rounds with someone. You don't want to go 12 rounds. The goal of life is less input, more output. The goal of life is to design a car, less gas, more miles. Anytime I see people glorifying hard work, the only good thing about hard work is if it's physical manual labor. When I used to live on a farm, it'll make you strong. So there is some benefit. But people working hard in a business setting in terms of stressing themselves out, waking up at 4 a.m, going to bed at 9, you're literally depleting your adrenal glands, depleting you're spiking your cortisol, and you're probably not working that smart. There's only so many hours in a day. You can't outwork 3.5 billion people. You think the top 10 people, if they work 24 hours a day, how many hours could they work? Maximum combined, 240, right? The bottom 3.5 billion people, if they just worked 1 hour a day, would work 3.5 billion hours a day. 3.5 billion versus 240. But the 240 people hour group makes more than the 3.5 billion if they only worked 1 hour.
Mentors, your ability to copy, is the biggest predictor of the success that you will have in life. As Picasso said, good artists copy, but great artists steal, right? And I looked around and it's interesting. Did you know Albert Einstein had a mentor? Every Thursday, he would have lunch with a mentor growing up. Jay-Z, the rapper, he had a mentor. Oprah Winfrey said she had 2 mentors. Gandhi had a mentor. Alexander the Great had Aristotle. Bill Gates had Paul Allen. Warren Buffett had Benjamin Graham. There's something here that most of us have missed out on. So I want to share with you some things that I found, some specifics that you can do with mentors. The first rule is, I call them the mentor rules. It's the law of 33%. You should divide up your life and spend 33% of your time around people lower than you. You can mentor them, you can help them, and they'll help you back by making you feel good about yourself, right? It's good to know somebody's doing worse than you, right? That's that 30%. Then you have 33% of people that are on your level. These become your friends, your peers. But the last 33% is what most people forget about. Those are people 10, 20 years ahead of you. They'll make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but that's what you want. And then remember, you don't want to make the mistake most people make with mentors, finding somebody just a little bit better than them. You don't want to be the blind leading the blind. So I call it the 10x rule. Find somebody 10 times further ahead than you. If you want to learn how to grow $1 million company, you have to find somebody who has a $10 million company. Don't be afraid to go to the top. In-person mentors are amazing, and you can get people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. You'd be surprised. My friend heard a talk, Frank, he's a director in Hollywood, and he's like, Tai, you're not gonna believe this. I heard your talk, and I emailed some people, and Elon Musk, the founder of PayPal, the only man to own 3 companies worth $1 billion, he wrote me back, and I had lunch with him. You'd be surprised. People remember, because people remember their struggle, and they'll reach out and help you too. Remember, everybody wants the good life, but not everybody's willing to follow these rules. You must follow these rules. Next, humility. One of my favorite stories in business, Sam Walton, he becomes the richest man in America. He starts Walmart, this big empire, and he takes a trip to Brazil, to Sao Paulo. And when he's there, in Sao Paulo, his host family, his friends, get a call from the police department. They're like, come bail out Sam Walton, he's in jail. By this time, he's an older guy, billionaire. They rush down. If you've ever seen the inside of a Brazilian jail cell, it's not a good place for a 70 or 60-year-old billionaire, right? And they ask the police, are you crazy? Are you arresting him? They're like, we didn't know who he was, and we found him crawling around the floors of stores. And they asked they asked him, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I was just taking a tape measure and measuring how wide the aisles were because I was trying to figure out if these Brazilians knew something that I didn't know. Already a billionaire. You'd think he'd be cocky. You see, everybody wants the good life, but not everybody's willing to be humble like Sam Walton was. You have to be humble. Next, perseverance. The media has tricked us. They only show us the success at the end, but Bill Gates started at 12. It wasn't until 31 years old that he was a billionaire. He said from age 20 to age 30, I never took a day off, not even one. You must persevere, and in your search for mentors, you must persevere as well. I've been lucky enough to become friends with one of the top real estate investors in the world. I said, how in the world did you get started? He said, back when I was 19, I decided I wanted to do real estate. And I lived in a little town, but I knew there was one developer that was pretty good. So I went down to that developer's office. I met the secretary. I said, I'd like to meet this developer. She said, sorry, he's a busy man. He didn't have time to meet you. I said, I came back the next day. She turned me away. 17 times. He said on the 17th time, the lady felt bad for him and said, listen, here's what you do. Hide behind the plant by the elevator. When he comes out of his office at the end of the day, jump in the elevator and he won't have a choice. The doors will close. And you got 4 floors to convince this guy that you're worth, talking to. I don't know what my friend said, but he said enough that when they got to the bottom of the elevator, that developer said, meet me at the airport in the morning. Well, I'll go down in my private jet. You can come down with me to Florida. I'll show you how I invested in hotels down there. Sure enough, my friend learned from this mentor and became one of the wealthiest real estate investors in the world. He persevered because, you see, everybody wants the good life, but not everybody's willing to persevere to get it. You must persevere. Next, books. Books you should see as hidden treasure. Think about it. If I told you, because as I said, mentors are great in person, but some of the great mentors are no longer alive. Shakespeare, Darwin, Freud, Mahatma Gandhi. But if I told you all those people were in my house, they're going to be there this Saturday answering questions, magically I can make that happen. Would you show up at my house? Of course everybody would buy a plane ticket and end up in California. They are there in my house. They're on my library. They can be in your library too. Talking about Sam Walton. This is a man who made $160 billion for himself. More than all the other billionaires basically combined. He wrote a book on his deathbed. How many people have read it? It's a tragedy that not every business person's read a $5 book by a man who built an empire. But it's because the modern education system has turned people off from books. You got to rewire your brain. Let me show you a few quick tricks. First thing is stop seeing a book like a one-time event. See a book like a friend. You read it over and over. You come back, and just like friends, you pick a handful of them. I recommend you find 150 books. There's 130 million. Can't read that many, but 150 you can read over and over for the rest of your life. There's no rule either at how fast you have to read them, at what pace. I set my own pace. People say, how do you read a book a day? Sometimes I take a week. But sometimes books only have 1 or 2 things that are worth reading. In fact, most books only have that. So I flip through the pages 1 time. I like to go through 3 times. First time I read the table of contents, the back. The second time, go a little faster. The third time, I just focus on 1 chapter. See yourself like a gold miner, just looking for that 1 nugget. Then put it back on the shelf. The average American buys 17 books a year, maybe reads 1 a month. You should read at least 1 book a week. Because remember, everybody wants the good life, but not everybody's willing to read to get it. You must read more. And lastly, Stoic versus Epicurean. One of the first books that I read, this 11-set volume that I got from my grandfather, there was a quote that I wrote down. A nation is born Stoic and dies Epicurean. Stoics were people willing to sacrifice present pleasure for something better later. You could say they were investors. Epicureans lived for now. They were consumers. They said you only live once. There's a saying, if you're in a room and you don't know who the sucker is, you're the sucker. You never want to be the sucker. Guess what the media wants to do? I could tell you, I'm from Hollywood. They bombard you. We see on average 2,000 ads a day. They're trying to sell you something. Luxury comes at a cost. It comes at the cost of killing your hopes, your dreams, your ambitions. So toughen up a little bit. Be a Stoic. When's the last time you went a week without eating sugar? Or walked instead of taking a car to get groceries? Or did 100 push-ups? Or turn the air conditioning off? Toughen yourself up. Take a cold shower. You see, everybody wants, but not everybody's willing to toughen up to get the good life. You must toughen up.